I'm 7 months pregnant, and I find myself questioning if it's too much to ask. Is it unreasonable to want my husband, my partner in life, the one who promised to be by my side, to be there for me during the most intense moment of my life, rather than stepping away to deliver our baby like a doctor in his clinical role? I posted about this on Reddit, but it was removed. Now, all I see is the void of the missing comments, the voices of those who might have understood my perspective. I'm 35 years old. My husband is also 35, a family medicine doctor, and we've been together for 10 years. This is a throwaway account because, honestly, my sister-in-law follows me here and reports everything to him. It's funny how little privacy I have even in the most vulnerable moments. But I need to reach out, to ask for advice on something that's been haunting me, on a fight that's tearing at the seams of our bond. It's about our birth plan, about how he envisions this monumental event, and how I see it so differently. My husband wants to deliver the baby. And I can understand part of it, really. It's not uncommon for doctors to want to be the ones to bring their child into the world. I've read about it. He's told me it's a moment of deep personal significance, something he's dreamed of. There will still be an obstetrician present, of course, overseeing everything, guiding the process. But at the very last moment, when our baby is crowning, he wants to be the one to catch her. To pull her into this world. But that's not how I imagined it. That's not what I had pictured. I always thought my husband would be by my side, up by my head, holding my hand, helping me through the labor. That was my vision. He says he'll be there, but he insists that the last part, the easy part, won't need his help. That's when he'll step into his doctor role. And if I want someone there with me, his mom can step in. But here's the thing, he doesn't understand. I've been on my own since I was a kid. I've lived in my car, alone. I don't have anyone I'd want by my side in that room except him. I don't even want his mom there. Not because I don't love her, she's great, but because she's not my person. He is. I know it would be a special moment for him to deliver our baby, but it feels so wrong to me. I don't want to be alone in that room while he's busy delivering our child. And it's not just about the delivery. It's about the whole process. I didn't want our doctors to know he was a doctor because the second they find out, they talk exclusively to him. It's like I vanish. I've already had to endure my prenatal appointments where no one speaks to me. Everyone speaks to him. I can't even ask questions anymore. At home, the conversation is the same. It's always about him, the doctor. But he's already told everyone, family, friends, that he'll be the one to deliver the baby. And I'm left with a deep ache. Because this isn't just about him being a doctor. It's about him being my husband. I wanted him by my side as my partner, not my doctor. I wanted to experience this, my first birth, with him as a husband and father, not as a medical professional. I needed him to be there for me. I needed him to hold my hand and reassure me through the pain, not step away at the very moment I needed him the most. But instead, he says I'll be fine. He pulled in his friends and family for support, but none of them understand my point of view. They tell me that this is his first child too, and I should let him have this moment since I had the honor of being pregnant. I don't want to hear that. I just want him with me. Holding my hand. Sharing the experience. Not treating it like some medical procedure he's performing on me. I imagine that we'd both see our baby at the same time. That we'd both be there, equally, in that moment. But now, I feel like that dream is slipping away. Am I being selfish for wanting it my way? For wanting him by my side? Tonight, I'm going to confront him. I know he'll be upset, it's inevitable. He's going to see that I've gone over the time limits we both set for how much time we spend on social media. I've exceeded it, and he'll know as soon as he checks the logs. I'm hoping I can catch him before his frustration spirals too far. To try to understand where he's coming from, I reached out to some of our mutual friends. I wanted to know what he had told them about why this matter was so important to him. But the shock on their faces when I shared that we were at odds over this, it hit me hard. He hadn't even talked to them about it. They were stunned to hear we were fighting over something so significant. And, surprisingly, they were incredibly supportive of an expectant mother being in control of her birth plan. They understood where I was coming from. I feel a mix of fear and anxiety about his reaction. It's hard to know how he'll take it. I need to get ahead of this, prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Wish me luck. Please, cross your fingers for me. I don't even know how to begin this update. First of all, I owe a massive thank you. A heartfelt thank you to every single one of you who took the time to respond. Who sent messages, who checked up on me, who shared their own stories. I've read so much, too much to ever respond to it all, but each word meant something. Thank you to those who offered resources, who volunteered their time, who cared enough to help. You're all angels in the flesh, and I am beyond touched by the outpouring of love and support. And to those who called me selfish or crazy, or used other words that hurt, I thank you too. Strange, isn't it? How those harsh words help me see things more clearly. When I reread my story through your eyes, when I saw your comments and realized that maybe I was the one in the wrong, it broke something inside me. And suddenly, through the haze of emotions, the clarity came. But let this be a lesson. Maybe, just maybe, we could all try to be a little kinder, a little more thoughtful with our words. After all, we're all just people, trying to navigate this chaotic, beautiful life. So many of you have been so kind, so caring, so loving. I can't even put it into words. Thank you. Thank you for caring about me, a stranger on the other side of the screen. It's overwhelming, this kindness from people I've never met. I won't be able to go into all the details of what's happened over the past few days. So much has unfolded, and I'll be processing it for years. But here's what I can say. I'm safe. I'm free. Read into that what you will. As for what's next, I'm leaving. I'm leaving this chapter behind. I'm moving out of this city, and I'm starting over somewhere new. Somewhere beautiful. Somewhere that makes me feel like every time I look outside, I'm witnessing a dream. I've always been drawn to the mountains, those towering, majestic peaks that stand as a testament to the strength and beauty of the world. I don't plan to log into this account again, or even Reddit, ever again. I did this once before, at 16, and I'm hoping this new beginning, these last few decades, have set me up for something better, for a fresh start in the real world. If my story resonates with you in any way, if you too have felt smothered, voiceless, trapped, and alone, locked in a house with someone who should love you but doesn't, know this, that isn't normal. That's not how life is supposed to be. There are people out there who'll be there for you. And even strangers can become your best friends. The cost of leaving may seem steep, but trust me, the cost of staying is far greater. Thank you again, to everyone who reached out. You've all been a lifeline. The number of personal messages I receive from people in the same situation, offering support, checking in on me, it's indescribable. There's a community here, one that will help you before you even realize you need it. I don't know what comes next, and that scares me. But it's also freeing. I haven't felt this kind of freedom in years. And that, in itself, is something to hold on to. He and his wife, once again, are facing financial troubles. It's not surprising, I'd already suspected as much. He'd stopped taking the kids on his weekends, his excuse being that he had to work overtime. I see through it. He's been avoiding spending time with them, but that's not the real reason. I refuse to answer his calls now, forcing him to text or email me instead. That way, I have a record of everything. It's a small comfort, but it helps me feel like I have some control. After everything that's happened, especially after finding out about his demand for a paternity test, I don't trust him. I told him flat out, I'm not going to consent to a paternity test. If he wants one, he'll have to take me to court. He argued that it was clear our daughter wasn't his, that she didn't look anything like her siblings. He was persistent, but I wasn't budging. He kept going on about how I was holding his money hostage, claiming he shouldn't have to pay child support for a child that wasn't his. But he couldn't afford to take me to court, and he knew it. Now, apparently, he's been airing his grievances on Facebook. He's telling people I cheated, that I'm forcing him to raise another man's child, and that I made him sign the birth certificate. That's not true. He wasn't even there when our daughter was born, but because we were still married at the time, I had every right to put his name on the certificate. I didn't even want to follow his social media drama, but one of his friends tried confronting me about it. I want my kids to have a relationship with their dad. I don't want to get in the way of that. But deep down, I know this isn't the last time he's going to pull something like this. There will be another issue, something else he or his wife takes offense to down the line. It's just a matter of time. A quick edit: I should have proofread my last post instead of letting my anger spill out. I didn't mention something important. Jim wants me to pay for the paternity test, even though he's too broke to pay for it himself. But I know exactly what would happen if I cave in. If I paid for it, he'd accuse me of tampering with the results. It's the same thing that happened when I had the house valued so I could give him his half. He didn't like the first valuation, so he made me get a second one. I know the truth, our daughter is his, and I didn't cheat on him. Some people didn't like how I referred to our daughter as my youngest. Both she and her twin brother hate being called twins. They've been their own people since they were toddlers, strong-willed, independent. I don't refer to them that way out of respect for how they feel about it. She's not my only daughter, my oldest is also a girl. Update: I never expected so many comments on my last post. After venting about the paternity test situation, I thought I was just letting off steam. But now, Jim and his wife keep trying to get me to pay for the test. I keep refusing, and of course, they ran to anyone who would listen, telling them I was forcing them to raise a child that isn't Jim's. They're accusing me of all sorts of things, and I know exactly why they're doing it. They're trying to manipulate the situation. For anyone who didn't read my last post, the child they're questioning is my youngest daughter, a twin. Jim doesn't argue that her twin brother is his, but suddenly, he's questioning our daughter's paternity. Honestly, I didn't think he was that clueless, but here we are. Jim kept whining to his dad, Mick, and his brother about how I was financially abusing him. They've tried to paint me as some sort of villain for not paying for a paternity test. I get along great with Mick, he adores my kids, and my kids adore him. I've never tried to stop them from having a relationship. Jim, on the other hand, uses the kids as pawns. Mick and I are close, and so is his wife, who I consider a sister I never had. When Mick asked if he could pay for the test, I agreed, but with a condition: Jim should pick the company that does it. That way, I wouldn't be involved, and there would be no way for him to accuse me of tampering with the results. Mick paid for all 3 of the kids to be tested, using the private company Jim chose and a second one recommended by Mick's lawyer. Mick did this so that if Jim tried to argue the results were fake, there would be another set of results to back it up. The results were clear: all 3 children are Jim's. But Jim isn't having it. He's still arguing that the youngest isn't his, even after the test results came back. He's taken to Facebook, ranting about me and threatening to sue me for fraud. The man couldn't even afford to pay for a paternity test. There's no way he can afford a lawyer to take me to court. And honestly, I'd love to see him try. Mick's wife has been screenshotting some of Jim's posts and sending them to me, and we've had a good laugh over it. One of the things Jim's upset about? I've been dating a former friend of his. I say former because Jim's wife cut ties with several of Jim's old friends, and I just happen to be one of them. Jim's angry because I'm alienating him from the kids. But here's the truth: I've never stopped him from seeing them. He's the one who decides when he's interested in being their dad. My kids are happy. They're off to their granddad's for a sleepover with their cousins, while I get to enjoy a quiet evening with a glass of wine, catching up with a former sister-in-law. Jim and his wife are still whining on social media, but it's falling on deaf ears. One of the comments I saw: he left when you were pregnant with twins but doesn't think the youngest is his? That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me either, but that's Jim for you. Another comment: so he thinks only one of the twins isn't his? Yep. He only thinks one of the twins is his. I wish I could explain why, But honestly, he was never the sharpest tool in the shed.